Do you like anal sex? Maybe you don't like anal sex, but is that the only way that you can receive sex? If you're like me, that's kind of the position that you're in. I am trans, I'm a trans woman, and if I want to have sex like a woman, the only way that I can do that is through anal. So even if you're not trans, you can benefit from this, but I'm basically going to talk about everything that I've learned about how to have more pleasure when having sex anally, and some of the tips that I want to add on from my previous video of Anal Academy Part 1. So this is Anal Academy Part 2, so to speak. If you're new to this channel, I do a lot of personal growth stuff, and I also talk a lot about sex and sex therapy. That's kind of a big topic of mine. So check it out. Check out some of the other videos. So for this Anal Academy Part 2, I'm going to go into douching, pleasure as a pussy, which is specific for trans women, communication with your partner, and the insertion and other tips like physicals tips as well as mental space. We'll see how much we have to go through in this video. I might have to cut it short because there's a lot in here. But I thought I'd give you more tips as I've been having a lot of sex with my boyfriend recently. Well, first of all, this is my first boyfriend, which means now I can have sex all the time, and it's really great because we can go deeper and deeper intimately, which is fantastic. So let's talk about douching, because douching is one of those things that I feel like you can get really caught up on in a way where it can really mess with your head. It can feel like a chore. I don't know if you've done douching before, but doesn't it feel weird? Don't you feel a little dirty, or you feel like messy, or that it's just like this thing that you just don't want to do? And then if you want to have sex, let's say every night, it's just this big thing. So I want to take a little bit of that complexity out of it for you, so that way you'll have a lot less mental burden when you do this, and also some tips around thinking about this that's going to make this experience better for you. So the first thing is put lube on your doucher if you're going to douche. Let's take one step back before lubing your douche. You don't have to lube. The anal wall in your inside is actually kind of lubricated, and if you just add some lube, it should be pretty solid. But you want to make sure that if you are not douching, that you're approaching it at a time where you have a pretty clean bowel. So it's like sometime after you've pooped, and making sure that that poop consistency, that should be another topic. That poop consistency is not juicy, not like super liquidy. Like the more liquid it is, the more likely you're gonna have poop stuck somewhere in your body. I've had sex when the poop is more solid, and when you poop that out, it's very clean. And even if you have little parts within you, if they're more like balls, then they might just be inside you, and someone can have sex and it won't really interrupt your business. So that's kind of like the non-douche approach. If you want to do that, you just want to have solid poop. And the best way to do that is to treat your diet with high fiber, to get things with high fiber in it that can really help make it more solid. If you eat foods like spicy food, or if your diet kind of like causes you to react to something like alcohol, that's going to mess with your system. And so you kind of do need to monitor your diet to do anal properly in a way where it's going to be less douching and less effort and less anxiety around it. Now, one thing that I would say, one last thing on the diet tip, is eating spicy food for me, drinking alcohol, those kinds of things really messes with my bowels. And so that means I have to douche a lot more, and it makes me feel a little bit more anxious because there's more opportunities for things to slip out. I should probably mention, you probably should grab a pad and a paper to write some of this down, because there's a lot in here. We haven't even gotten to the douching part, so I'll probably have to make another part 3 to kind of follow through on this. So, douching. First thing is you should lube. Now, that sounds obvious, but for some people, you may be like, I don't want to get out the lube. I don't want to have to find the lube and put it on, and then the lube gets on my hands. Yeah, no, you should lube. I have done douching without lubing, and there has been a time where the pointing part, the part that you insert in to inject liquid in, actually tore a bit of my anal wall, and that caused it to be inflamed, and it hurt. And then I had to wait several weeks for it to heal, because once you tear your anal area, it takes a long time for it to heal because of what it's constantly exposed to in terms of bacteria and healing. So always lube up so that way you never hurt yourself and you don't think like I thought I might have had an STI and then I was suddenly paranoid about that. Thank God that wasn't the case. So lube. The next thing is there isn't a science to douching. Like there isn't like the exact perfect way to do things. I think the way that you want to think about douching is you want to think about it in terms of what's going to make you feel cognitively secure, because that's ultimately what you're trying to douche for. If you're douching, is you want to make it so that you can feel clean, that you feel like you're not going to have any hiccups in your sexual experience, and that it's just going to be a clean, easy ride where the person is going to insert, they're going to pull out, and everything's going to look gravy, or not gravy, but you know what I mean. Here's what I've figured out is the best way to do this is to have a method that gives you the highest amount of confidence. So you can just say, all right, this is the best practice. This is what I do. I do it every time. And, sometimes things may not go as well as I want them to, but I know that this is pretty rigorous. And if I wasn't able to prevent it, then I wouldn't have just been able to prevent it. Because you can get super wrapped up in this and get a little paranoid, and you can just keep on douching and spending like 20 minutes in the bathroom, which is just like so unwieldy, wouldn't you say? So the thing that I would say is you want to do, here's what I do. I take the douching thing and I fill it with warm water, or whatever feels body appropriate, but not hot, because your anal cavity doesn't actually have the ability to have enough of a sensor for something too hot. So if you put scalding water in, you may not feel like it's scalding, but it could actually burn you inside. It's pretty sensitive. So you want warm, so that way it doesn't shock your body either. You put warm water in there. I insert it. I fill my cavity up, and then I actually take another one and I fill that up with more water, and then I give it another insert and inject that in there. So I have a little extra water. Now, the reason why I do this double is because I want the water to go up a bit to catch anything that's drifting around or that is kind of stuck on the wall. So that way, when I clean out this first flush, there's a good general cleaning. So I'll do that, and I'll sit down on the toilet and then let everything come out, and I'll monitor and see what's coming out, so I can see, what's the texture like? How much is coming out? Does it feel like I'm going to need to do a lot more, or is it seeming sort of okay? So I'll do that double douche. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I do like a little hop. I do a couple hops just to kind of shake it up inside. Yeah, just shake it up. But just a little bit. If you shake it a lot, you can create some air bubbles inside your intestines, and then that's going to make it it's going to make liquid get stuck inside you. So you're going to feel like you've completed your douching, but there's actually more that will need to douche out in a bit. And I've had experiences where in the middle of sex, that little bit of extra liquid will come out, and then suddenly it stained my bed and it stained the situation. So you want to do a little shake. You don't want it to kind of fill your complete anal cavity. So you do a shake or a jump, and then what I do then is I do a single douche to follow up the double douche. So a single one, and then like a little shake, and then I clean out. And then from there, it's kind of based on the texture, based on what I know with my body and how I'm feeling. I could do a follow-up, but at that point, I feel pretty solid. I've done a double douche and a single douche, and I could do one more follow-up just to be sure. That seems like a good setup, generally speaking. If you'd like to be sure of things, what you can do is you can take your finger and kind of stick it up there to check. And I typically use my middle finger or this finger. I tend to use this finger for some reason because it just seems like a better angle for inserting. But I'll stick it in there, and I'll kind of like poke around and see if there's any areas within my cavity that feel like I just need to kind of pull stuff out. And that'll give me a lot of confidence. I don't always do that because you can also scratch yourself in there, and then that's going to make you a little uncomfortable. So I try to avoid that. The other thing that I kind of mentioned is reading your poop and like making sure that it's kind of like fitting, like it's knowing if it's hard or stool. And then the last part is cleaning, because You don't want to clean yourself with toilet paper because now you're going to get toilet paper stuck on your butt and that's not going to look good. So what I do is I just grab a little soap, rub it around my area and clean it off with my hand and some soap, and then I'll just take a towel and kind of rub myself down because I've now cleaned my anal area. It's kind of like a douching shower kind of experience. So that's all of the douching related stuff, and I guess that is part 2. We've covered a lot, and that's just douching, so I'll have to make part 3, which will be the next video. So I'll see you in part 3 shortly. I'm Ashley Adamson, and if you want to support me, please check me out on Patreon. I would love your support, and join our Discord community down below. We'd love to have you. I'll see you in another episode soon. Bye.